Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nextdoor Small Business Community Webinar, Keep It Real. Today, we're going to focus in on surviving and thriving in an inflationary environment, something that I think we're all very focused on at the moment. My name is Friar. I'm the CEO of Nextdoor. If you don't know us, we're the hyperlocal app where you connect to the people and neighborhoods that matter to you. Neighborhoods around the world turn to Nextdoor daily to get trusted information, give and get help, and get things done, and build real-world connections with those nearby, especially their local businesses. Small businesses, you all come to us because of that hyperlocal nature and the ability to work inside a trusted environment where local proximity helps you grow your business. Today, we welcome over 2.8 million of you globally who've already claimed your page on Nextdoor and are starting to connect with your best customers, your neighbors. Today's recording, I'm going to welcome two incredible speakers. Now, our desire is that this is a helpful tips and tricks webinar that can go around the world. For sure, we'll have some US focus, but we're going to try to make it very tactical. So keep on listening, even if you're not currently based in the US. And we encourage you to explore the other resources that are unique to you and your community in the country where you're doing business. And of course, here at Nextdoor, we're here to help you do that. So let me welcome our two phenomenal speakers. I'm going to start with Helen Russell, the co-founder and CEO of Equator Coffee. Equator Coffee is a specialty coffee roaster based in Marin County in California. She's actually my neighbor. Under her leadership for the last 27 years, Equator has grown from a small roaster and wholesale supplier into a national brand known for its values-driven approach, award-winning coffee, and impactful action around issues of environmental sustainability, female empowerment, and economic empowerment. Helen led Equator to become California's first certified B Corp, practicing and pioneering direct relationships with coffee farmers. For the last 15 years, Equator has remained on the San Francisco Business Times list of the top 100 women-owned businesses. She's also LGBTQ certified and a winner of the SBA Small Business of the Year on a national level. Helen personifies community. She volunteers all the time, and I see her out and about in the community, always with that big smile and willing to help and do. And thank you. I've got my Equator coffee on the go this morning as well. Second, someone who needs no introduction, Isabella Guzman, the 27th Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. She serves as the voice for America's 32.5 million small businesses and innovative startups in President Biden's cabinet. Just a small job there, Isabel. Administrator Guzman grew up in a small business family and has been an entrepreneur herself. She spent her entire career advising entrepreneurs, launching ventures, helping small businesses navigate government, and creating policies and programs to help advance entrepreneurship and innovation. Most recently, she served as the director of the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, where she helped small businesses and innovative startups grow in the world's fifth largest economy. Needless to say, we all three of us care about supporting you all in good times, and more importantly, in the challenging backdrop that many are experiencing today, which brings us to our topic, surviving and thriving in an inflation-driven world. So let me start off with Administrator Guzman. Administrator Guzman, the SBA is a massive government agency. You provide so many services and support to small businesses, and there's a lot on offer. Maybe you could just start giving us a brief overview of the different types of support that the SBA provides and any tips right now on navigating things like, for example, your 7A loan program.
Well, thank you so much for including me. I have had such a phenomenal experience as SBA administrator. I mean, we know how critical our small businesses are for our communities, our neighborhoods. They create jobs for our workforce, and they're so important as part of our supply chains. And the Biden-Harris administration really recognizes their importance as well. We want to level the playing field and create fair competition so that all of our small businesses can find opportunities to survive and thrive. And SBA, of course, is that federal agency focused on delivering that dream of business ownership to more Americans and focused on meeting businesses where they are. We know you wear many hats and are trying to create a customer experience across all our products at the federal level to help you, start and grow and build resilient businesses. And many of you have heard of the SBA, Small Business Administration, thanks to the COVID relief that we've been able to administer to save small businesses during this time. And last year, in President Biden's first year in office, we provided $500 billion to save businesses. And we're fortunate to see a small business boom in this country. And now we're really focused on how we can help those small businesses and innovative startups with all the daily necessities, those critical elements that help you find success. And so first and foremost, funding. It's always about capital and making sure that you have the capital to either negotiate with your vendors, maintain your supply chains, or whether that's to cover staff and grow your business. And we have a series of products at the SBA that are affordable, and capital loans from our 7A product that was mentioned earlier, our 504 product, which is a little bit more focused on real estate and equipment acquisition, especially now when rents are so high. Thinking about buying that building is oftentimes a good strategy to plan for into the future. We know that it's difficult, that there are barriers to getting capital for your business. We want to make sure that we can work with you to get capital ready and work with our expansive lending network. We work with lenders on the ground, and we're all about trying to expand that network. If you go to SBA's website, sba.gov, /lender match, we try to match you with those incredible lenders on the ground to make sure that you can get that funding for working capital or real estate acquisition or whatever the need might be for your business during this time. And I know Equator Coffee that you're going to hear from is a great example of a small business success story that was able to use our products at the federal level. There are so many incredible examples of businesses who used SBA working capital, as well as through our 7A product or 504 loans to help acquire their equipment or their real estate to really build wealth for themselves and their communities into the future. And so very excited to continue to share success stories across the SBA. And it's more than that. The SBA focuses on trying to support businesses in growing their revenue. We know, especially now during COVID, it's so important to attract and retain customers, grow your customers. We provide the technical assistance through free advisors, counselors across the country to help support our small businesses in their strategies, whether that's a digital strategy to get online via e-commerce to grow sales, or doing business with the federal government, the largest buyer in the world. SBA stands ready.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to have Helen tell her little vignette of how she used the SBA, but for everyone listening, if you were taking notes, number one, get funding. Inflation is here and we're seeing rising interest rates, so making sure your balance sheet is well bolstered. Number two, think about business counseling. SBA is a great example, but there are many around the world. Go to those government websites. They're a great learning platform, extensive tools, templates, resources. And then, of course, how do you sell into folks like the federal government, or in the UK, if you're selling to the UK government, right? They tend to be big buyers, and government contracting often creates areas for smaller businesses to be taken seriously and to get some revenue. Helen, tell us a little bit about your first foray with the SBA. It was such a great story to hear as we were prepping for this webinar.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Administrator. It's great to be here. We absolutely, Equator, we tapped into the SBA's funding program, our first financial experience over 20 years ago, which was a loan from the SBA that helped us secure the commercial building we are currently in and still roasting coffee in. And we just paid that business building off with the 7A, and we've been able to take advantage of the other programs through the SBA during these times with COVID as well. So it has been a lifeline for Equator and many other businesses. So we're so appreciative of what the SBA does and what you do, Administrator. So thank you.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to dive into the meat of it. So we're going to talk about thriving through an inflationary period in three parts. First, how to protect and continue to drive your revenue. Second, how to manage your costs prudently. And then thirdly, how to leverage community, right? Clearly at Nextdoor, we're all about neighbors, but let's think about how that community can help you. So Helen, can I go first to you in terms of how you've thought about protecting and continuing to drive your revenue? What are you seeing right now in terms of top line impact? Any noticeable impacts yet? And what have you been doing strategically in terms of pricing and so on?
Yeah, thank you. Well, number one, inflation is our number one challenge right now. And if you look at all the statistics, COVID has dropped to number three and inflation is absolutely number one. So we're watching closely, potential impacts and opportunities and threats to our top line. We are very fortunate that we haven't seen a whole lot of downward pressure on the top line, but we're hyper aware that inflationary pressures are impacting all of our customers, our suppliers, and our community, which does impact our business. For example, we're noticing that some of our customers are not coming the 1 to 2 times a day that they were. They're cutting it back to maybe once a day versus twice a day. So we're definitely seeing that. In terms of noticeable impacts, where we have seen the impacts of inflation and global economic conditions, our cost of goods, right? Green coffee, dairy, pastry, transportation, manufacturing equipment, coffee equipment, packaging, you name it. All of our operating expenses are up. We think of our business in 3 channels. Wholesale, our customers, which are restaurants, offices, bakeries, hotels, retail, which is our neighborhood, and our customers, and our online direct-to-consumer. We know that our top-line revenues from a base of these customers are totally interrelated. And one thing that we have learned, and one thing that we did early on, Sarah, was in January, we raised prices because green coffee costs were going up. So one of the things that I would absolutely recommend and say to all the small business owners that are out there, I know it's always frightening to raise prices to your customers, but if you're transparent with your customers, they know that prices are going up and that your costs are going up. Be transparent, deliver the letter. I called our 10 top customers personally and let them know that we were raising prices. I worked with them and consulted with them how they could raise their own retails. So it's a very interactive when you're a small business with your customers. They truly are your family, your neighbors. And if you're a brand that's extremely transparent, they're going to take the price increase because, they understand what's happening. One of the things that you asked me, Sarah, earlier were, are you changing pricing? We are. One of the other things that we're doing, we're in wholesale, retail. We have a website. We're also leaning heavily into grocery. And one of the things that we learned during COVID, it's really important to have multiple revenue streams. Because the more legs of revenue streams that you have under the table, the sturdier your business will be. So we definitely have seen that. And you know me, I'm always out at the stores, right? So yep. I'm always saying yes, I'm always with our customers, I'm always with our neighbors. And because we've been in lockdown, we've been behind our computer screens, it's more important than ever as a business owner to get out there and to connect. Because folks want a memorable experience. They want their spirits lifted. And we see ourselves as an endemic, indigenous piece of our community in our neighborhoods to be able to uplift them. I know it sounds quite high and elevated, but just showing up and connecting in a kind word and a little sticker on a child means everything in times like this.
Yeah. Okay. So great tips there. Definitely pricing. Go look at your pricing. Don't be shy on it, but I think also being transparent. I think looking at what your competitors are doing is also helpful because sometimes that can give you cover for larger brands if you're a local business. Second thing I'm hearing there is the high touch, right? The great thing as a small business is you know your customers intimately, so you're able to call them. Helen's calling the top 10. And then I think the third thing is this discussion with your community and helping your community understand that you're more than a cup of coffee, right? You are the place where people are coming to meet, for example, in Helen's case. Administrator Guzman, small businesses and entrepreneurs have so many talents. They tend to be able to hustle and they dodge and they weave as things come at them. It's what makes them so entrepreneurial and so successful. But many have probably not experienced what inflation can even mean. How do you help them assess what inflation means for me as a business? Like, what are the resources that you would point them to, SBA or otherwise?
Yeah, and I know I've been traveling around the country and meeting with so many businesses, and some have been facing some of these challenges with, of course, supply chain disruption and price increases from the beginning. It's appropriate we're in a global conversation here because these COVID disrupted impacts on our economy have been global. Of course, from a more macro level, I'll say at the national level that the president's really focused on tackling inflation as a top economic priority and trying to make progress quickly to bring down inflation, and especially since energy costs are such a big part of that, driving those prices of gas down as quickly as possible. We did see 30 days of price decreases here in the United States, and so that was a positive signal. But clearly, small businesses are having to be creative every day and deal with their challenges around inflationary pressures. I think that what's important to note is that while inflation is top of mind, there's also a lot of other COVID-related impacts and changing consumer behavior. The way we interact with customers has evolved, especially with the adoption of digital technologies. And I know Nextdoor was such a great tool for so many small businesses to connect to neighbors when they couldn't walk in your door. As well as some of the changing workforce patterns have really impacted us as well. But I think you can never discount the small business trademark agility, grit, determination to really power through some of these challenges. And SBA is trying to provide some technical assistance and tools to be agile. We do agree that the strong balance sheets is what's going to drive a successful business versus someone who's too challenged to continue to survive. And so that might be on the revenue side, trying to maintain those customers in new ways. And oftentimes that's going on social media and finding new technologies to build connectivity to all of your clients as small businesses. We have to get creative in how we make those connections. And I recall growing up as a very young girl, loving to be in the front office of my dad's veterinary hospital because everyone who walked in that door, people knew that person's name and vice versa. And we have to find new ways to connect. And so SBA's Small Business Digital Alliance, which is smallbusinessdigitalalliance.com or .net, has free tools for businesses to access technologies to grow their businesses, grow their revenue base and their client base. And I know that that balance sheet side, that's the operational efficiencies, is also really important too. Sometimes you need capital to get greater efficiencies or to get that better price with a vendor and develop that relationship. So it does come back to making sure that you're capital ready. So work with one of our lenders or our centers around the country to make sure that you have a strong understanding of everything that's happening with your business, all of your costs and inputs, and so that you can be strong to a lender and get the best rates here in this marketplace.
Yeah. And I think there's something interesting in there that, even if you're not a U.S. business there, I would still go look at sites like the SBA. To your point about the Digital Alliance, there's just a lot of tools that are inherently global of just gritty tips and tricks. What could I do today? Where might I not be leaning in to utilize platforms that are out there in the world? I'll put a total shout out for Nextdoor. You can claim your business page and immediately post into our platform, which is going to all the neighbors that live around you. You might not even know about that, but a place like the SBA is a great place to see all of those assets brought together in one place. You started to mention a little bit there, Administrator, even things like buying ahead, right? People are using their balance sheet for many things. Maybe it's to put in place that roastery like Helen did back in the day. Maybe it's to, buy supplies because you've been dealing with supply chain. But if you're even worried about pricing going up, maybe you are really buying ahead. How does the SBA help you besides just the lending? Are you talking to small businesses about how they warehouse that, how they maybe insure it? Like, what are some of the other elements of buying ahead?
Yeah, and so many of our small businesses have had to change the way that they manage their inventories. We've seen that across the board with supply chain disruptions and global trade disrupted, that it's harder to get goods from day one. And then you see the subsequent price increases, especially for small buyers who can't compete at the same level as some of those large buyers out there. And so, from our perspective, really having a strong strategic plan, an advisor to walk you through all those key elements, is really important. So if you're going to expand your inventory, you do need more warehouse space. Rents are high. Is it time to buy a building? And those are the types of cost analysis that we can help guide you through at the SBA with our consultants that we support around the country. And there's great though, webinars and online tools, to Sarah's point, that everyone can access to learn more about these core skills. We're actually going to be launching series around supply chain management and inventories coming up in the near future to make sure that we can share those best practices broadly across the country and to all small businesses.
Yeah. So Helen, maybe you can dive in there because you are managing a supply chain that goes all the way back to where those coffee beans are being grown and then picked and pruned and so on. How do you think holistically about your strategy for a world where maybe inflation is starting to hit? And when do you know to pull the trigger on a particular strategy?
We're constantly, watching all of the drivers of our P&L very closely, right? We have team members that are constantly monitoring the C market. One of the biggest challenges we had was discussing, are we going to be able to get our coffee supply? I mean, we had coffee on the water because we're buying coffee from Central South America, East Africa, Indonesia. And this coffee is coming and it's sitting in Oakland offshore and we can't get it. So what do? We have to then go to the spot market. As much as we would like to buy futures, a lot of our farm partners, they're holding on to supply because remember, you've got the C contract where coffee is bought and sold, but when you're a third wave coffee roaster, you're paying a quality differential, a certification differential. And if you're a farmer in Colombia and your labor is going up and your inputs are going up and people are looking for that coffee, they're going to increase their prices. So we're constantly watching that, checking in, with our farm producers. We're visiting them. We're on Skype with them. Fortunately for us, we've had these relationships at Origin for a very, very long time. And we have traveled to the farmer's gate for the last 25 years and have, I've got the dirt on my boots to prove it. Those relationships are so important because in specialty coffee, it's all about stakeholder value. It's all about seed to cup because, we're picking coffee, they're exporting coffee, we're importing coffee, we're picking it up over the annex in Oakland, we're bringing it in, we're roasting it, and all those things we have to monitor with equipment, and gas, and fuel. We're constantly thinking about ways to communicate that to our customer. So, as much as we would like to buy ahead, we're kind of in a position now, we're in a hold position where we have our green contracts out there. But the farmers are holding back a little bit. So we're watching that very, very closely, as they should, because if they can get more money for their product and things start moving, because you've got, look at the containers. They went from $5,000 in shipping. You've got 28,000 beans in there to $20,000 in freight. So all those things have to be monitored on a daily basis so you can then communicate that to your customers. So it's been extremely challenging. And Administrator, you mentioned something very interesting. And Sarah, you can appreciate that because you're a technologist. I think even if you're a small business, whether you're a coffee company or a bakery, you're now a technology company. And we were so fortunate when COVID hit that we were in the process of beta testing an app for mobile ordering. We were a company that said we will never do mobile ordering because we don't want Sarah to come in and not have perfect latte art on top of her latte, right? We're not going to do that. But things began to change. And when COVID hit, we were ready to roll out that app so we could protect our customers and our employees. So technology, when I think of the SBA, I think of that as the place where I look. And what they're working on is the bridge to all of us as small business of what we should be thinking about. So that's been extremely helpful for us to sort of watch what's going on in the SBA website and then apply it to our own businesses. And of course, Sarah, we're always watching the big guys, right? What is Starbucks doing? What is Nestle's doing? What should we be doing? Because our customers are, reading about those folks. So I hope that answers the question. One of the biggest things that we've done is expanded the reach of where our coffee can be. Because when COVID hit, all the offices that we were selling to went home overnight. So what did we do? We lost 35% top line overnight within 24 hours. It was 2010 again. We have to now start thinking about additional channels that we can put our products in to make sure that when there is inflation, if there is a recession, if the pandemic continues, we have to be able to be prepared for all of those things. And I feel like the SBA, that website, I'm confident it gives us all a baseline of what you're thinking about, Administrator, and what's happening with the Build Back Better movement from a business point of view, to give us all ideas of how we can succeed in a challenging environment.
There's so much goodness in there. So I hope you're all taking copious notes. So I heard, first of all, make sure you know who your supply chain is, not just by name or, somewhere on a spreadsheet or on a website, but go visit them, like dirt on your boots, right? That's what I'm taking out of that statement. And it's never too late to start that, because you're going to be in business for decades. So begin that motion if you're not there already. Second thing, every business is a technology business. You're so right, Helen. COVID definitely kind of put everyone on notice that if you had been leaning back on the technology front, you needed to lean in. And I love that folks like the SBA are helping show that path. And then I think that third thing that you said were, where can I take, if I'm going to do the work to know the grower in your example, or I'm going to do the work to create the technology platform, how do I then package that up for my customers to show them why that makes a differentiated product? Something to think about. Administrator Guzman, I couldn't not talk to you about the Community Navigator program. I know it's something that you're incredibly proud about, you have put in place. We've talked a lot about getting expert help, but I think this kind of really wraps its arms around it. Talk to us for a moment about the Community Navigators program. What is it? And in particular, how can a small business access it?
And we talk so much about access to capital and access to these markets, but so oftentimes connection and networks really are the golden ticket to be able to get that capital or get that relationship with the client. And so but not everybody has those connections, and that's what became more evident during the pandemic. Historic barriers and inequities that existed before the pandemic just were laid bare even further during the pandemic. And President Biden was really committed. It's one of the first things he talked to me about was that he was concerned that not every small business has had a CPA on speed dial or a lawyer on speed dial to help them really access programs quickly in order to survive. And not only that, but they may not have had the infrastructure, the resources, the broadband networks. And so he was really focused on trying to solve that. The American Rescue Plan funded this Community Navigator pilot program where we could expand the networks at SBA so that we could put more local, trusted partners on the ground. While I have over 1,300 centers around the country with advisors to help you and producing content to help you as well, oftentimes, maybe there's not that cultural competency, or there are language barriers, or they're just not physically near enough you to be able to support. So with this program, we've been able to add another 448 spokes. We have 51 hubs and 448 spokes, as we like to call them, around the country. So national leaders, regional leaders who are working on the ground with local partners to build bridges to more communities so that there are folks on the ground to help support you with all of these challenges. We know that it takes a team to grow your business. You might be one. So many businesses are sole proprietors or just one or two employees, and we want to be able to give you some skill sets outside of your team to be able to build all those skills that you need to manage that balance sheet that we're talking about today. And this includes organizations at the national level, like the National Urban League or the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, and various chambers, but then also at the local level. Like we have the Korean Youth and Community Center in Los Angeles. We have the Abilene Chamber of Commerce in Abilene, Texas. And so we're really trying to broaden our breadth and work with these local partners to reach you. And as I said, meet you where you are with the support that you need, that friendly face and that friendly ear to be able to support you.
Totally. Music to my ears, because it is all about really your local community kind of rising to help, and that person that you trust because of that power of proximity. I find on Nextdoor, I often see small businesses reaching out saying, hey, if you run a business, who is a good local accountant that I could use? I only need a few hours a week. And you'll immediately see other business owners jumping in to help. So again, think about your community broadly. It's not just your community of customers, but who are the community of businesses people that are walking in your shoes right now, where you all can come together. Maybe there's even things like group buying that you can do together. Okay, that is my segue into the final part of our conversation, which is on how to leverage your community. I'm going to start with Helen and then end with Administrator Guzman. Helen, you're an incredible builder of community. You're always there when people need you. But how have you surrounded Equator with a community to make sure you stay successful?
My favorite thing in the world is visiting our stores and interacting with our customers and our employees and our neighbors. I mean, you have seen me down there. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. We got into retail 14 years ago, and I thought, I can't possibly get up at 5:30 in the morning and get out and make lattes. And the team was like, no, you don't have to. We hire people for that because when you're an entrepreneur, you think you have to do everything. And visiting the stores and listening to our employees and listening to our customers, but our customers have helped us leverage our success because they're so integral and they're so entwined with our business, right? We're on the chamber. We're doing events. We're showing up in different ways. When the power goes out, we're in front with the generator giving away coffee. They know they can depend upon us, and they have come to know that. And it's reciprocal. I remember one of our customers came in and she said, Helen, God, I'm sure it's been very stressful for you and your employees, and I've been talking to them, and they're short-staffed, and people have COVID. And she said, have you heard of the employee action plan? And I said, I haven't, but I talked to my team about it in HR, and they said, yeah, we're actually looking into that. So these are things like the administrator says. There's these tools that are out there where you can bring something in and you can have coaching, you can have access to counseling, whether it be mental health or financial for you and your employee, you and your family rather. And we offer that whether you work 5 hours a week or 45 hours a week, whether you're a salaried employee or an hourly employee. Yes, it costs Equator more money, but it's so important for us, for our team to know that we have their back. And when we have their back, they have the customers' back, they have the neighborhood's back. I mean, we are super hyper local. I mean, you can go down to our stores and you can feel what's going on in the world because people are talking about it, right? And one of the other things that I'll say is one of our customers, when we were looking for the payment protection program, one of our wholesale customers who owns several restaurants in Palo Alto reached out to me to let me know, because we know how chaotic it was in the beginning, to have access, to let me know what he was doing. So building these relationships and leveraging all the people that are around you is the best way to run a business and to be in a business, because it really is about community and we're all in this together. And we try to provide a memorable experience and lift people up. And that's who we are as a brand. And that's why we're successful, and we will be impacted. But they will grab us by the hand and they will help us get to the other side because of how we've interacted with them in the community. So it's absolutely my number one favorite thing to sit there, you know this, Sarah, to talk to people, to see what they're thinking. They actually have good observations for us as well in terms of our own business. So we're very, very grateful. But you've got to put yourself out there and you have to listen. And you have to listen for all the tools, because we need everything at our disposal there to keep going forward. So that's why, the SBA, I can't say enough about it. When I was looking for coaching, that's who I called. I mean, when you're two women in a garage 27 years ago, you want to start a business, who doesn't? But you have to know where the tools are. So we've been very fortunate all the way through.
Yeah, I hear just loud and strong, access your community. Tell them your story. I say this to businesses all the time. Don't just get into selling mode. Tell them how you're doing things like you talked about mental health for your employees. But often that's the thing that will tip someone to come buy your coffee. Of course, once they try it, they'll know it's for the taste too. But often there are other ways you can connect to customers beyond just the hard sell of your product. It's really about the community that you wrap around it. And this is, to me, the power of sitting as a local business amongst your neighbors. Isabel, bring us home. So on that topic of community, any kind of final wise words for everyone listening in?
Well, I love being here speaking to this Nextdoor community as well, because you all are neighbors coming together, and businesses have come together so tremendously during this time. There's nobody that just was insular and focused on saving themselves. They wanted to save their whole communities, every business that was beside them, if they're brick and mortar, or others in their community. And I think that's really a testament to how strong of a place businesses have in the communities that they serve. They really do create change. They do power us with the products and services we depend on, but also that good neighborly feel. And so, I just want to, comment on that, because it's been so incredible to see them, save during this time, but also to save each other. And so you can't say enough about how important it is to build those relationships. And probably as just it was a necessity. So many business owners, I know they reached out to our district offices. It was 24/7 in the beginning locally, of desperation, of fear, and all the challenges that have evolved over this 2.5 year period. And you can't survive unless you have a voice to talk to, or someone to talk to, and a voice to assure you that there's help out there, and that there's support, and that they're there with you. And so that's been that's been some therapy for all businesses, to be able to come together, whether that's through a chamber or through some sort of organization, or just a neighborhood group. I think you need to seek that for not only your business sanity, but also your mental sanity as an entrepreneur out there fighting so hard to survive. And I think that's I want to just say that what's important about the SBA is that we are a trusted institution. Reimagine Main Street just did a survey, and a lot of businesses, majority of the businesses said that SBA is a trusted organization, because you'll find that our advisors, as well as the small business folks on the ground through the SBA district offices, have either had experience in small business, or are really mission driven in their work. This is what they're all about. And so, it's really important to reach out and know that you'll find that kind of support at a federal agency to connect you to resources, and use that power that you have and impact you have for good. Because I think the other thing to know is that small businesses are those giants in our economy, and they were able to find that voice and that power through this pandemic as well, because the local philanthropy, local corporations, local governments, everyone's recognized how important small businesses are to their communities around the world. And so that's why you're seeing opportunities to find programming wherever you are, whatever neighborhood you're in. There's likely some assistance out there to support you. So just seek it out and build that network yourself.
Perfect. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Administrator Guzman. Thank you, Helen. For folks listening in, if you're looking for key resources that we've talked about on this webinar, you can turn to, of course, the SBA, sba.gov. Equator Coffee has a great site, www.equatorcoffees.com. And then if you want to come to Nextdoor, nextdoor.com /SMB resources. We'll, of course, make sure all of our webinar content is kept there. We'll do a nice job of parsing that up for you. And then, of course, a quick shout out to a second webinar coming in a few weeks. Nextdoor Small Businesses Community webinar, Keep It Real, How to Recession-Proof Your Business. And we have 3 phenomenal speakers there as well. Letitia Henke, who's the CEO of ARS. She is an amazing entrepreneur. And then Lauren Weinberg, who is the CMO at Square. And it'll be led by our own Brianne Shalley at Nextdoor, who heads our small business marketing group. So with that, thanks everyone for tuning in today. Hope you have a great rest of day, and go out there and just conquer your local neighborhood with that amazing business that you're building.